My name is Lou Pallo, and I'd like to welcome you to the Les Paul Museum in Mahwah, New Jersey. We're going to go through a little tour, and let's show you the genius of Les Paul. Behind me is how it all started. This is the lathe that Les used. They used acetate records. He made this with a Cadillac flywheel. This is the cutting part of the disc machine here. And if you put your finger under the needle here and you plug the microphone in and you say check 1, 2, 3, 4, you'd feel the vibration in on your finger here. And that's how it cut into the acetate record. And it would cut the grooves. Then he would check the grooves with this here, make sure, because you can make wide grooves. I think he only had one record where it was only a minute and a half long, so to fill up the whole record, they made the grooves wider instead of tight. And this is the playback arm that you would play it back. Your VU meters for input into there, and then a VU meter playback, and so forth. On the reverb, he had a needle on a spring, which would give you reverb. And we're talking way back in 1948 when they didn't have reverb, and he would have the needle would be on a spring, and you can hear reverb. And of course, he used two going back and forth the same way he did with the tape machines. And here we are at the 8-track recording, which Les called the Octopus. And the reason Octopus is because it had 8 tracks. When Les started recording on tape with Mary, they used to record on mono. And they would have a mono tape deck, 2 of them, Ampex, of course. And they would record her voice and one guitar on mono on this deck here. Then they would play it to another deck, and this deck would record the 2 parts plus 2 more parts they would put on. It would be 4 parts. And then they would take the 4 and go over here, and it would be 6, and on and on and on. And that was a sound on sound. Bing Crosby wanted a tape deck for him because he loved playing golf, and he was on the radio all the time, so this way he would record his program and then go out on the golf course, and then people thought he was live on radio, which he used the tape deck. And he started the company by giving them $50,000, and they made 2 tape decks. He kept one and gave one to Les. Les put it in his trunk, took it home, and that's how Les started this with the 2 decks. There it is, and it's in beautiful shape. Les, born in Waukesha, Wisconsin, he used to play up at the railroad tracks when he was young, and he would feel the vibration of the train like miles away. He was a little devil in his days, by the way, when he was young. They did a lot of funny things, and I don't know how he got the railroad track, but I think he did something there. And he put a string on it, and he noticed that the sustain was great. The only thing is, his mother said, though, when he brought it home, and she said, "Can you imagine Gene Autry playing a railroad track on a horse?" You know, and he said, "Yeah, you're right, Mom." And that's when he came up with a solid piece of wood. But before that, Les was Red Hot Red, and Rhubarb Red was his name when he was 13, 14. And he would take his mother's radio and use the telephone for a microphone, and he would put it through the radio so they can hear him playing at a place where people drive in and to eat outside. And then he decided to get his father's radio, and he had 2 radios and the telephone. And it wasn't really stereo, but it was like the beginning of stereo in his head, which Les was always way ahead of his time. Oh, and here is the Clunker. Let's call it the Clunker. And the reason for Clunker, I guess, because he took it all apart. A 4x4 piece of wood right there, you could see, solid piece of wood. Cut the guitar in half there, and then put that solid piece of wood, and he experimented with it, put it back together again, and that's how he got that good sustain. So this is the beginning of a solid body guitar. In other words, now you know that you're getting a good sustain, so now it will make a solid body guitar, and that's when, of course, the Les Paul solid bodies came out. And then we talk about Gene Autry, who Les knew when he was young, and Gene Autry now could get on a horse But he doesn't have to go on with a railroad tie and on a horse and play guitar. He can play one of these guitars. And here's Les Paul's custom guitar. And as you can see, the XLR jack here, that's what he would do to all his Les Pauls. Les and Mary, they would have this, and they have their microphones. Not like today, they have the wireless, you know, they put them around there like Madonna and so forth. So this way he didn't have to use a microphone stand. And he always loved the Bigsby, and he called this a wang bar. When he would do Over the Rainbow especially, he would use the wang bar and he'd say, would you like to have one of these? You know, to the audience. But it was kind of funny when he did it. And of course his own electronics, Lou Pallo's pickups. He used Lou Pallo's pickups. And here's the Les Paul Pulverizer, which Les invented. And it fits right here on the back of the Bigsby. It controlled the microphone, the guitar level, and the tape machines behind them to give them the harmony parts that they were singing and playing. And sometimes when Mary would sing, he had the cord from the guitar, and he called that a hose. That was his terminology. He would squeeze the hose while she's singing. She would sing, Vaya con Dios, my darling, and he'd squeeze it, and he would turn the volume down with his right hand. He's doing it with the left hand, and no voice. All of a sudden, Vaya con Dios, and it would come out again. It's just like a hose. That's why he called it a hose. All right, now here's the finished product, one of the finished products. This is a Jimmy Page model. Of course, it's a Les Paul, and this is a solid body. And it has 2 pickups, which we call, this is the front pickup and the back pickup. The front pickup, if we just use the front pickup, it's more for like jazz musicians. Nice, pretty sound. Pretty sound. And if you combine both pickups with the bridge pickup and the front pickup, this you get. And you have volume control, tone control for this pickup. Then when you come here, you're using both pickups and you have volume, tone. So that's the sound. Now we'll use this pickup next, down. And here you get that treble stuff, and that's more that kind of sound that you want to get, or some rock and roll things. And blues if you want. Alright, but anyway, now there's the middle, and of course he has a Bigsby on this one, of course that. Makes the strings. So this is one of the things after the Clunker and after the railroad track, and this is a solid body, and you get a good sustain out of it. As you can hear, that thing sustain, great. Solid body guitar, one of Les Paul's.